So, Shwetha, take me back to middle of 2021. Uh, what were the series of moments that prompted you to embark on this journey?
Um, so it all started when I saw a LinkedIn post looking for a content writer. R&T Fitness was looking for a content writer. You had said looking for a content writer anywhere across the world, and you had a fitness industry. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of them. So I Googled you guys and I looked at it and I saw all the transformations. And I'm a content writer. I'm a copywriter. I'm a freelance content writer. And I was looking for projects to do. And so when I saw this job listing, I was like, oh, I want to try. Mostly because I have been writing with another personal trainer who's also a friend of mine, who she started this group to improve fitness levels in mums. And I had a 2-year-old son, and my fitness levels were horrible. But I was so tired, and he was not sleeping, so we started doing these runs, and I started running once a week, and then it became twice a week, and then I felt like my life completely changed once I started running. So when I read physical is the vehicle on the website, it really, really resonated with me. And I was like, that's so true, because the minute I started actually focusing on my health a bit, my energy levels went up a bit. I was less irritable with the children. And I was like, this is amazing. Of course, it was a whole other level. What I was doing was like maybe a fraction of what I've learned in R&T for the past year. But it felt like, there was an untapped potential. And so I applied for the position, and I was thrilled when, I started working for you guys. And and that's what I think kickstarted the whole process.
I remember very vividly because you joined during the rebrand process,
yeah.
And obviously it was a crazy month of getting everything sort of updated onto the new website, and you were a pivotal part of that process. And I remember just getting a message from you, or I'll paraphrase the words, and you were just like, "I've read so many case studies now. I think I want to do it."
Yeah, exactly. I think it was one of them. I think must have been Sithal and all of those, mums, definitely. When I was reading one of the mums case studies, and I was like, oh my God, she's a
I think
mom.
it was Arwinder. Was it Arwinder that triggered it for you?
Yeah, it was Arvinder, there was Sithal, and there was also Geeta.
Yeah.
All of these mothers who've had like children, and I was just like, look at them, they look absolutely amazing. And I was just like, so for so long I thought it was impossible. I was like, I'm nearly 40, I have 2 children, it's just not going to happen, and this is the best it could get, and this is, me running twice a week. It's like, this is the best. It can't get any better. And as I kept writing them, I was just like, oh my God, I need a piece of this. I need some of this in my life. So yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you read so many of these success stories.
Indeed.
So it was an interesting trigger then. But if we speak on a deeper level, what was it? Because there's one thing reading case studies, and another thing saying to me, Akash, can I join in October? What was going on in your mind when you're reading them? What was sort of nudging at you, saying something needs to change?
I think what really struck me was how much most of the women case studies, all of them said they felt so much more confident in themselves after doing R&T. And confidence has never been something that I've been it's never been something that I've not been one of these people who just walk into a room and I can talk to anybody. And, I tend to be quite shy. I also tend to, try and shrink myself into something. Don't look at me. I'm happy one-on-one, and so I never felt that I was a confident, outgoing person, and I'd always put myself down quite a bit. And when I read that, the strength training while physically, of course, you're gaining the strength, but the emotional and mental strength that it gave you was so much more. And the fact that, when you know that you can do something physically and you've surpassed yourself, that strength sort of percolates into other areas of your life. And I just really wanted to feel that for myself. I wanted to be someone who could just not bullshit and, out there, but just someone with a presence without feeling like, like I need to hide. I wanted to stop feeling that way, I guess.
And how long had you been feeling like that for? And
Um, I think it's just been part of my personality. It's one of those things. I'm the youngest of three, and I have two older siblings who I love dearly, but they tend to overshadow. And so I'm always been the one who sort of follows along, tags along. Always been the one who's doesn't quite measure up, one of those things. So I just felt that maybe this was an opportunity to build some inner confidence within myself. Yeah.
so would you say it started from childhood? This.
Yeah, I think so. I also had really bad skin when I was growing up. I had really bad eczema, and I was bullied a lot as a child. In school, I was just like, so I always felt like so I would hide myself in books. That used to be my refuge. I would just, if I found things a bit overwhelming, I'd find a little corner and hide myself, and I'd be like buried in a book for hours, and no one would know who I was, and I was in my happy place. So I think that's, I always struggled to be more, open and, yeah. So when I read the case studies and I saw how many women felt stronger through their RNT journey, I just felt I wanted to try that, and I wanted to see if it would make a difference.
Hence the writing then, in terms of the books, hiding yourself in books, obviously leads itself to a love for writing and reading.
Yeah, and actually, strangely enough, I mean, I never felt I had the confidence to write a book either, because I'd be like, how could I be good enough? I mean, how am I supposed to measure up to people? I don't think I would ever be good enough to write a book, because I never felt I had the confidence to do it. But lately, I've been, making some progress. I've written a bit of a short story, and I think that has been the biggest thing. Is like I've actually put together an idea for a book, and and I feel more confident about saying, yes, I'm going to create something of my own.
Oh wow!
Two people read it, fine.
Yeah,
but the point is, it's actually I'm making progress towards doing it, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing. So okay, so you had the conversation. We had the conversation about you starting for October. Talk us through the process of that in terms of getting started. What was the process of getting started and making some serious changes in your lifestyle like for you?
It was, I thought it would be easy. I was like, oh, I've read this, I know what I'm going to be in for. But then once we got onto the pro platform, I got my CTP plan and everything. And once it started going into motion, I realized all the little bits that you have to focus on. Like generally, I thought I was eating well. Generally, I was active. But when you actually go down to the finer points, I realized how many gaps there were in my day. Really simple things like breakfast for the kids. My little one will not eat the crusts of his toast. He hates the crust. So what I've done for the past 6 years of his, or whatever, 5 years, I'd cut the crust off and I would eat it. Because you'd have this whole Indian mentality of, no, you mustn't waste. And, I remember my mom would even say, all the vitamins are in the crust of the bread. And, these things, and you weren't allowed to waste. And I couldn't get myself to throw away the crust of his toast. So I would put like a bit of peanut butter or honey on top of it and eat it, because I didn't want to throw it in the bin. So once CTP started and there was no bread anywhere on my plan, I was doing this, and then I was like, what am I doing? I can't eat this. This is, so these little things that you just ignore. It was really interesting. So it took me some time to actually, once it started progressing, I realized how far into it actually goes.
It's funny when you start measuring your food and paying attention to what you're actually eating, it's very different. Yeah. And you said something that I think a lot of people can resonate to is, I thought I was eating healthy.
Yeah.
I thought my 2 runs and my peanut butter on toast was good enough.
Yeah. And then you realize that actually it's the amount of peanut butter I was putting, my goodness, 10 grams. I mean, it's
10 grams is probably just covering one edge of the crust.
It doesn't even cover the whole slice of bread. It was so funny. But yeah, the biggest thing was I realized that actually I understood when I was actually feeling hungry.
Mm.
Because before I was such a snacker. I would like constantly be snacking and make the kids pack lunch, and when I'm putting in like something, I would just nibble on that. Or they come back home from school and they're having a snack, then I would just nibble on that. Or in between, it would be healthy things. It would be like a grape or an apple or a
There you
banana,
go again.
or olives.
Health. It's always the healthy stuff. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not like I was eating biscuits or crisps
yeah,
or
yeah.
anything, but it all just adds up. It all
Mm.
adds up.
So what did you do to help that? Because that's something, for mums and parents overall
Yeah.
who have young kids, especially, I feel like that's something that can really add a couple hundred calories potentially per day, definitely per week, but definitely potentially per day. How do you navigate around that without the guilt or without
Yeah.
feeling like you're wasting? What do you do?
Well, actually, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I am wasting it in my body. It's better to waste it in the bin than to waste it in my own body. I don't need this food. So just because I'm consuming it doesn't mean
Mm.
I'm actually putting it to use. In fact, it's actually having a negative result. So I kept telling myself, you're wasting it in your body, which is worse. Wasting it in your body or wasting it in the compost bin. At least it's going to go into, fertilize the flowers of the trees. It's going back. Whereas if I'm consuming it, I'm just, I'm harming my own self.
Mm.
That was like this kind of like a mantra that I had. Also, I prepped myself before they came home from school, like snack time with my kids. Oh my God. It's like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. So before they come home from school, I always make sure I eat my third meal. So I'm full when I pick them up. So I'm not tempted to nibble on like an oat bar or whatever that, or, like a piece of apple that they're chewing on. I just make sure that before I go pick them up from school, I've eaten. And I've had my protein drink before they have breakfast.
Mhm.
So when I find, there's more chances of me slipping up if I'm hungry. But if I feel happy with where I am and I'm full and satisfied, I don't need to snack.
And then how do you navigate the dinners and sort of family meals? Of course, Bharat, your husband, is also
Yeah.
on RNT, which probably helps. But how have you navigated it, both as together, but also with the kids and with making sure that you guys are on track whilst eating as a family and being with the kids?
Yeah. They don't eat our meals. I cook for them separately. But because I've already meal prepped my food over the weekend, I already know what I'm going to eat. So they have their pasta and they have their pizza once a week. So they have that. But also I was really happy with my food. I
Mm.
never felt that the food that I had to eat from my plan was something that was distasteful. I was just like, oh God, this is just so. I loved the food on my plan, and I actually looked forward to eating them because I actually built up hunger. I was waiting. My body was ready to eat, and I didn't feel like oh my God, I'm missing out on stuff because the food that I actually had on my plan was food that I really enjoyed. I'd like literally, I loved my eggs, and I would make it really tasty and have all the veg, and the kids started eating so much veg.
Mm.
Started eating so much raw veg with their pasta. They'd immediately say, "How come we're not getting salad?" I'm like, "Yeah, go for it. Yeah, please go ahead and have some." So yeah.
Fantastic. So once you got started in the process, you started cleaning the palette. What were some of the next challenges and obstacles you faced? Once the excitement wore off of starting something new, how did you find the process? Because I think I remember you getting off to a flying start.
Yeah.
You went all in, flew out the traps. But what were some of the challenges that you faced once you started building some momentum?
Yeah. I felt like I wasn't changing much. Like I felt like I was just like, oh, I don't know. I was training in the gym, and the gym felt good. And I used to be so nervous about the gym. I was just like, oh God, I would go, I would feel really uncomfortable. And then I would, go and pick my little weights, and I would feel like, like everyone was looking at me, and felt like this man zone, and I was this one girl. And so those kind of things. But then slowly I got more used to the gym floor. But then I felt like I said, oh, maybe things weren't changing as quickly as I wanted them to change. Because I felt like I said, oh, by December, everything would be like, I wanted to have like this major transformation. But then what I did was, and that's when I think things started slowing down a bit for me. And I started like, allowing myself one slice of pizza with the kids. Or, after, I think like you said in the book, the motivation dip. Because things felt rapidly, like I dropped the first few kilos like so quickly. And then after that, things started just plateauing a bit. And then I was like, oh, I'm still the same weight, and I'm still the same weight, and still the same weight. And then all those, things that I was avoiding suddenly started creeping onto my plate again. And then Bharat actually was saying, how can you say that you look the same? You look completely different. And I said, what do you mean? I look exactly the same. And he's like, no, go back to your first photo. And I was like, okay. So I went back and I was like, good luck. And I hate photos. It's a good, like, photos of myself is something but he's like, no, go back to the first one. So I sort of I put all of the photos in one folder on my phone. And then I look through them week on week on week, and and you could just see the transition from what I would look like when I started in October over the next 2 months. And he was like, which is why I think the power of the photo is so important. Like, you don't see it week on week, maybe it looks like, you look the same, but if you compare it over 6 weeks or 7 weeks of photos, and you look at the first one and look at the next one, you're just like, oh my God. Suddenly there's more definition in my arms. My legs were slimmer. My back was looking more solid rather than just fleshy. And it was just suddenly like, he was like, how can you say that you look the same? You look completely different. Your body has changed. And I was just like, yeah, shit, I didn't realize. And then I think things picked up a bit more, because I was just like, I suddenly realized what I somehow was blind to for myself, strangely enough.
Yeah, photos is such a big motivator, and it's such a big accountability mechanism as well.
Yeah.
It can work both ways. If you're falling off track, you're taking photos regularly and keep you on track. And at the same time, taking photos when you're making progress, it's just like, I want to see better and better photos.
Yeah. And I think I'm a bit camera shy. And so I'm just like, oh, I don't want to take them. But, I think also doing it with Bharat helped, because he was like, he's on the ball Sunday morning. He's like, come on, Shwetha, it's photo time. And I'm reluctant to go upstairs and like, all right. But
how did you battle the intimidation factor in the gym?
The fact that I knew exactly what I had, knew what I wanted helped. The first couple of times I went with Bharat, we went together, so that helped. But then after that, our schedules were different. And I prefer training in the morning, he prefers training in the evening, and so we don't get to go all together all the time. But knowing exactly what I needed to do really, really helped. I had a plan. I knew what I wanted to do, and then also when I saw my strength progress as well, that helped, because I'd started off with like no weights in the leg press, because I could barely push the plate without any weights. And that was a bit embarrassing. But then I realized, if you look around, no one cares. Everyone's just doing their own thing, and you just do your own thing. And you realize that it's not about everyone else in the gym, it's about you. And that's how I think knowing exactly what I was going to do in the gym really, really helped.
You were a beginner, right, to weight training?
100%, yeah.
Yeah. And how did you find that? Because being a beginner, doing it online, talk us through the process of how you felt safe, how you optimized your technique, and how you sort of got going. Because I think that's a big barrier for many people, is firstly that they're a beginner, but also that, how am I going to get my form right if no one's there with me?
Yeah. I looked at all the videos. I looked at all the deep dives, especially with the RDLs and the hip thrusts, which was, I didn't even know what RDL stood for before I started writing the case studies. I was like, what's an RDL? So I didn't know any of these things. So, but I looked at all the videos and I looked at them a few times, not just once. So I knew exactly what I needed to do. That really helped. The videos really helped. And
of yourself.
of myself, the training videos I took of myself and I sent out to the coaches. Those really helped. And I had no idea how strong I actually was. Actually, to be really honest, I was doing like
Very modest of you there.
I had no idea, and I remember coming to the Void workshop. And I was like, and every time, the coaches, Ed and Ivan, and you would be like, you need to increase the weight. You need to increase the weight. You're too low. And I was just like, I can't go heavier than this. I've got like 5 kilos in each hand. It's 10 kilos. I just can't. I can't go any heavier than that. And then when I came to the Void workshop, oh my God, it blew my mind that I could actually lift that weight. I think there was definitely a mental block. That I was like, no, there's no way I can lift that. It's impossible.
Yeah, I remember you saying after the Void workshop, you're just smashing PBs left, right, center.
Yeah.
It's crazy what happens when you know your limit, your true limit, just what you can do.
And also, I think I wasn't afraid of it anymore. I was really afraid that I was, going to hurt myself, or I was never afraid of, building muscle as a woman. That was never it was never something I was like, oh, I don't want to look bulky. I don't want to lift because I that was not something that was deterring me in any way. But I just thought that I was going to hurt myself, or I just didn't think I would be able to lift heavy weights. When I started in October, I was doing split squats with 5 kilos in each hand. And then last week, I sent out a video on the cohort with me doing a 40 kilo split.
Wow, 20 each side.
20 each side.
Wow.
Ivan told me to drop. I mean, he said, you have to go back to 36. You're not ready yet.
Okay.
But
still, even 36 is good. Yeah.
So it's just like, what? From 8 in October to like,
that's close to body weight. That's really impressive.
Yeah, 5 kilos lower, lesser than body weight.
That's very impressive. Amazing. So, you're building some momentum. The new year came. I think your checkpoint got delayed.
Yeah.
Just because you decided to push harder. Yeah. Talk through the process of getting to the checkpoint and going through the grind and really pushing yourself to that next level. What sort of experience did you have, and what sort of insights did you gain in that process?
The grind was really interesting. I actually loved the walks. That was my favorite bit, because it meant that I could just plug in. I would just listen to a podcast. Sometimes it's an R&D podcast. Sometimes it's with something else. The walks were great. And sometimes I would go for an unplugged walk. I would not listen to anything. I would, just have my phone and, do D&D or, and then I would just walk. And those were just amazing. There was so much insight that I got about my own self. One of them being, I really want to write a book. And I've been putting this off all my life, and I was actually doing myself a disservice by not doing it. So finally found the strength to actually be like, okay, I'm gonna action this. That was the wonderful thing about the grind. But also I was afraid when I started the grind that I would be so tired and I would be irritable and I would be cranky with the kids. That was actually something that I was nervous about. Like, I don't want to be tired and snapping at people just because I'm low on calories, or I'm training so hard. But actually, I wasn't. If anything, I was a lot more calm because I didn't have the energy to snap at them. I was just like, oh my God, pick your battles. It's just suddenly it was easier. We weren't having tug of war about little annoying things anymore. It became really, I was like, you know what, fine. I let them, you want to do this now? That's fine. I'm just going to let it go, because there's other things. I wanted to conserve my energy for bigger things than, what time is bath time or, something like that. So that was good. But I do remember feeling a bit angry when we went out for a meal once. and I couldn't choose. I was forced to make choices that I was less. I would have chosen something different. Like I didn't eat dessert. I was like, no, I can't have the dessert because I have a checkpoint in a week, and I don't want to eat this. I don't want to delay it in any way. And I was really surprised of how angry I felt that I wasn't able to eat it. I was like, oh, why do I have to do this? And I can't eat this dessert, and it's not fair. And then I sort of sat down with myself, and I'm like, no one's holding a gun to your head and saying, I hate this. This is your choice. Why do you really want to do this? No one is saying if you don't eat this, it's like all hell's gonna break loose. This is something that you're doing for yourself. So then why do you want to do it?
And what did you answer?
My answer was how much I actually wanted to be true to myself. When I started this, I wanted to be true to myself and take this journey as a self-discovery. And that's why I wanted to do it. Discover my own inner strength. And having that one sense of that little bit of whatever dessert or piece of cake or whatever that I was going to reach for was not going to be the answer to not going to help me tap into that space. If anything, it was going to take me away. That means I was giving in too easily. It was taking away from the whole purpose. The whole purpose of it was to tap into my inner strength. And if I just give into a whim, I'm not doing that. So I was like, this, eat your cake, but then be happy that you're eating it. Don't eat it and then be angry that there's all this conflicting emotions. So I put it aside. I didn't eat the dessert, and we left to go for a walk. And I felt so happy that I had actually resisted that urge. So actually, I have a little thing on my phone that says, "You are strong enough to rise above your urges." And so those urges are they're so fleeting, and giving into them brings you down so much. Like every time I would eat a slice of pizza, would go off my plan, I would get so down on myself. Whereas resisting it made me feel so much more stronger. Like I'm like, oh my God, see, I can do this. I'm stronger than these impulses and these momentary urges. And that helped me, that gave me such a lift that so that was the feeling that I wanted to feel more. Not the, oh God, I slipped up again, but I'm good enough to rise above it.
That's where self-confidence comes from, and self-esteem, because you're keeping promises to yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
And ultimately, what you do behind closed doors when no one's watching is where you build self-esteem, because that only you know what you're saying to yourself in your head. You can go around telling everyone you're doing something, but if you're stuffing your face behind the scenes, you have to sit with that, right? And that's what knocks your self-esteem. I think when people feel more confident and have higher levels of self-esteem on this journey, it comes from that sense of accomplishment, that they've said no to what they said they were going to say no to, and they said yes to what they said they were going to say yes to. It's integrity, right? It's integrity with yourself.
Yeah.
It's just being impeccable with your word, and just remaining authentic and having your own integrity. And only you can judge yourself, right? Only you have to battle with your mind. And if you know you've not given it your all, it's you that's going to have to suffer, no one else.
Yeah. And you feel so good that you followed through. I said I wouldn't eat it, and I didn't do it. And and to be honest, I mean, even for my children to see that, they see that when we say that we're not going to eat the chocolate, and they see that, I don't eat the chocolate, for them, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
That, oh my God, she said she wouldn't, she didn't. And that's a standard that I want them to aspire towards. You do what you do, you go through with what you tell you, what you promise to others and to yourself. But there were times when I would be, if I'm reaching for a crisp or something like that, my little one especially, he'd be like, I'm gonna tell Akash that you ate that crisp. I'm telling Akash. So it became a family joke, but they all were involved, which was really nice.
Brilliant. Anything else that you discovered about yourself? Well, you mentioned is this journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Well, what else have you learned about yourself that surprised you potentially?
I would never want to like I was never one to say anything about myself. Like I wouldn't share. I would always feel like if I tell somebody that I achieved something, it would seem like I'm showing off or being boastful. And I would be like, no, I don't want to share it with people because I don't want people to think that I'm showing off. But when I reached checkpoint and I took the photos and everything, I didn't share it on my social, like I didn't sort of broadcast it on my social media or anything because I was just I think I'm still a bit on the shy side when it comes to that. But I did share it with like people who are outside my inner circle because I wanted them to. I felt like my journey would mean something to them. You know, friends who have, you know, who do struggle with their weight, who maybe if they see that, then they could think that they could do something for themselves. Or I felt like, you know, I had a message that I could give, and it wasn't me being boastful. It was just about me saying, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. You know, you can discover something about yourself as well through this journey. And I felt more open. I felt like I didn't need to hide that much anymore. Like it was
Amazing.
okay to share.
Yeah, amazing. So it's been over coming up to a month as of recording this that you've hit your checkpoint.
Yeah.
I remember very vividly seeing the pictures. I was in Harry Potter World
Oh yeah.
on my wife's birthday, and I was like, oh yeah. I was like, oh yeah, Shwetha's hit a checkpoint. You put it in the team WhatsApp group, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about a month since then. Talk us through consolidation. How's that been for you? Have you found any challenges? Have you been able to master it well? I mean, going into it, I'm assuming you were very well equipped just because firstly you're on part of the team, but also having read so much about it and
Yeah.
written so much about it. But at the same time, you still got to go through it. So talk us through the consolidation phase for you. You must be coming out of it now.
I found it hard seeing the weight go up. I didn't like it. I didn't like seeing the weight go up again. I was
But
just
by
that.
go up, what sort of stats are we talking?
It went, so I was 41.9 at checkpoint. And then about 10 days later, I'd gone up by a kilo. So it wasn't
Okay.
crazy. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, that's about
42
right.
point something. And then now I'm about 43.4, 43.5. I'm sort of hovering
Okay.
around there.
Yeah, yeah.
43.7 yesterday. But I was just like, it's been 10 days and I've already gone up by a kilo. It took me 1 month to lose this last kilo. So the speed at which my weight went up, it did scare me a little bit. And so I did message on the cohort and I said, it's just been 10 days and I'm already up by a kilo. And, you know, my waist size is increased by a centimeter. And well, am I doing something wrong? Do I need to cut back on my calories? And so even though I knew that it was going to go up, I still wasn't prepared for it, I think. Actually going through it and versus knowing it was completely different. And then
So you were in control, but the scale is just moving slightly just because there's more food in your system, right?
I guess also there's more carbs. I was having
Yeah,
finally
yeah,
had
yeah,
sourdough and I had oats, and which I
yeah.
hadn't eaten in months. And so obviously there was also a bit of water being held on to, but still, and I know I went back and read the article, how heavy will you be when lean? You know, why the scale weight doesn't tell the whole story. I went back and I read them to remind myself to not be thrown off by.
It's interesting, yeah. So from a control perspective, it was all controlled with regards to food. What was
Yeah,
happening was more just the volume of food affecting your scale effectively, right? More than anything.
exactly. Yeah, it was because I was being quite good about it
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was sticking to the nutrition plan. I was still weighing everything out.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to go and go crazy and rebound or, you know, have any. And also I liked feeling so light. And I was like, just like, oh, so, and I'm a runner. And we live in a really quite hilly area. And this is this monster of a hill. It's a real monster. And running up it is always painful. And, you know, but as I got nearer a checkpoint, I was literally just flying up it. And I was just like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
So nice. So I didn't want to let go of that. And so I was like, no, I'm going to be really careful about what I eat when I'm, you know, going out of, you know, reverse dieting. But still, the weight went up by a kilo in like 10 days. And I was just like, no, this is not, this is bad. I'm doing something wrong. But so then, of course, Ivan was like, no, you're fine. You're doing really well. And, look at your pics, and you're doing good. So don't worry about it. So my mind did play a bit of a strange game, but I'm good now.
The key thing is you didn't rebound. If anyone's going to rebound, it's going to be in that first month. So that's the key. And so what are your plans for long term now? Are you someone who's looking to build some muscle? Are you looking to stay in a sort of sweet spot of where you are now? Is running going to become a new focus? What's your sort of long term lifestyle solution plans yet at the moment?
Definitely want to build more muscle. My RDL aim is to do twice my body weight.
Okay.
I really want to do that. I'm at 70. I'm able to do 70 kilos now with my RDL. So I want to be able to get to 80, 85. So I want to work my way towards that. Definitely want to build more muscle. And when I started running 5 years ago, it would be like, I ran 10K and I felt so good and this was amazing. But now that high I get from my my strength progressions in the gym, it's like, oh my God, I could only do 10 kilo chest press and, now I can do, 20. So that's where I get the high from now. I really enjoy it.
Amazing. So, Shwetha, tell me, how has the physical been the vehicle for you? You said it resonated for you when you read it. How has it been for you?
I feel so much more calm, and I always had trouble saying no to people. I would always, if someone asked me something or asked me to do something, I would find it really, really hard to say no. I'd be like, no, but they asked me, and even if so, I would go bend over backwards for to do things. Now I feel more at ease to just be true to who I am and say, I'm really sorry, I can't, but I can do this instead. Or I'm able to push back with a lot more ease than it was before. Always hated confrontation. But now I think of it as growth. It's, someone is confronting me with something. I'm saying, hey, this is not up to scratch. Before I would get really upset and I would get, would put myself down. But instead I'm somehow able to just take it on board and then move on with it instead of letting it get me down, actually grow from it rather than feel really stamped down by it instead, which I think is a big change.
Yeah, it's huge. I've definitely noticed that in you. So that's amazing. And speaking of sort of taking feedback and being around sort of like-minded people, how's the power of community and cohorts and the different aspects of that within the RNT family have you been able to leverage, and how have you managed to get the most out of it?
Yeah, so much. I mean, just the interactions with the cohorts are really lovely. They're so encouraging. People are just so open and honest, and even every small win is, you're made to feel like you've achieved something amazing, and you have. I mean, but you get that that support from a group of people which is really wonderful. And even the Facebook group is really fun. I've managed to follow a few RNTs whom I've never met on Strava. Yeah. So I sort of put on the Facebook group a couple of weeks ago, any of you on Strava, and a few of them. So now we're all following each other. We're sort of giving kudos to each other on runs that they do. One's in the US, another one is in Scotland. Nice. And it's really nice. It's really encouraging. So,
and if you're speaking to someone who's starting their journey now, early on in the journey, what was the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Don't shy away from the photos.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I know they're terrible. You probably are like, I don't want to see myself, but just stick, follow the plan, and do not underestimate the power of taking those weekly photos. It's a game changer.
If there's one thing you can do from an accountability perspective year round, I think it's taking photos. Taking photos and regular body weight, the two things I do to stay in shape year round. And I think if you can just embrace that photo every single week, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, it does so much for how you act in the rest of the week.
because you can suck in your stomach and all of that, but you can tell, it's just, and when you see the progression, like I'll still remember that conversation I had, and Bharat was like, what do you mean you look the same? Just go back and scroll forward. And you're just like, what? Does that actually happen? Was that me? It's incredible.
Amazing. Last question. What almost kept you from joining?
I don't know, the self-limiting belief, I think. Oh, please, I can't do that. That's not for me. I'm like, 5'1" and tiny and, vegetarian and, I'm a mom of two. It's like, there's no way I can achieve that by myself. It was just such a self-limiting belief. And because I just felt that there's no way that I could have accomplished it. But, hey ho.
What got you over that?
Just the case studies and the podcasts. Even the team podcasts. Oh my goodness, there's so many. The stories, that the individual stories with the members are wonderful, but some of the conversations that you guys have are just so honest. It's just it really helped me realize that it is not some exclusive club. It is something that anyone can do as long as you follow through, and that was really really eye-opening.
Amazing. Any final words for the listeners?
Enjoy it. Just really enjoy the process. If you're on your R&T journey, it's like every week can be a lot of fun.
Amazing. For sure, it's been amazing seeing you transform so far, seeing you grow. I've seen a lot of growth in you in the last couple of months. So it's been great to see you on this journey, watching from the side and cheering you on as you continue to take bigger leaps in your life.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.